Welcome to Hopeful Moments 1. Have you ever encountered someone who always thinks they are the center of the universe, believing that everyone around them must submit to their will? Someone who manipulates, controls, and disregards the feelings of others, convinced that they can do anything without ever facing consequences. But every action has consequences. Today, we'll dive into a tense and dramatic story, where a manipulator believes they can continue their power games, but this time, they face an opponent who won't back down. A victim who once endured oppression is now ready to rise and fight back. When the arrogant believe they are invincible, that's when they are most vulnerable. Get ready for a shocking and satisfying twist. Don't look away, because truth and justice are about to be revealed right now. Story 1. During Christmas of 2003, when the world sparkled with twinkling lights, and the air was filled with joy and laughter, I was just an innocent, dreamy child, eagerly searching for the perfect gift to reward myself. Amidst the cheerful greetings, the warmth of the holiday season, and the excitement of giving and receiving, I felt a rush of happiness in every corner of my young heart. After hours of contemplation, weighing countless options, only one idea remained in my mind, one choice that I was sure would thrill any child my age. I wanted an airsoft gun, not just a toy, but a key to unlocking a world of imagined battles, where I could become a fearless warrior, protecting heroic values and embarking on thrilling adventures. Every moment of choosing this gift was filled with excitement as I dreamed of action-packed battles, the exhilarating feeling of pulling the trigger, and the pride of making a decision for myself. To me, this was more than just a toy, it was a symbol of my dreams, a gateway to experiences that would shape my young imagination. But just as my burning desire took flight, an unexpected obstacle appeared: my father. He was a figure of love and boundless concern, and with a worried expression, he couldn't believe that an airsoft gun, though labeled as a toy, could actually cause real pain as rumors suggested. His deep, warm voice carried a mix of skepticism and caution, but also undeniable affection. Despite his naturally cautious and somewhat strict mindset, in the end, his love for me overcame his fears. He decided to let me buy the airsoft gun, perhaps convinced that, under his supervision, it would remain a harmless source of joy rather than a real danger. His approval, though tinged with hesitation, marked an important moment, a test of a child's dreams against an adult's reality. However, I was not one to accept doubt so passively. I was convinced that if I could prove my point through real experience, everything would change. With burning curiosity and a daring spirit, I resolved to show my father the true power of my dream weapon. One day, filled with a mix of excitement and mischievous determination, I took my chance. At a mere 3 feet away, an uncomfortably close distance, I boldly pulled the trigger. In that split second, the plastic bullet shot out like a flash, hurtling toward my father at an astonishing speed and striking him directly. Time seemed to freeze. I can still recall every vivid detail as if it were etched into my memory. The look on my father's face, a mixture of shock, pain, and sudden regret, was unforgettable. The unexpected sting made him instinctively recoil, his body jerking back in disbelief. Inside me, a whirlwind of emotions erupted: triumph at proving my point, thrill at the consequences of my reckless act, and a small but undeniable sense of satisfaction at my success. However, in that very moment, I also realized I had crossed a line. My father's reaction, a blend of shock, sharp pain, and silent anger, sent me a clear message: no action, no matter how innocent or playful, is without consequences. My recklessness had left a mark not just on my father's skin but on my understanding of responsibility. This experience became a powerful lesson, a real-life reminder that some things are better understood through experience, but not all risks are worth taking. My father, who once doubted the gun's impact, now knew better, and I learned that there are safer, smarter ways to prove a point. Key lessons learned. Heavy checkmark: never underestimate something you haven't experienced firsthand. Heavy checkmark: proving a point doesn't require recklessness or causing harm. Heavy checkmark: consequences can come faster than expected. Heavy checkmark: a little mischief is fun, but knowing when to stop is true wisdom. Story 2. Back then, I was just an ordinary high school student, like any other kid in my school, where strict rules and regulations were set to maintain order. Among the countless rules, there was one that didn't seem too serious at the time: no student is allowed to call for a ride unless there is a valid reason. To me, young and unaware of the complexities of school life, this rule was just another small condition to follow, one of the many little things we had to remember in our daily routine. Those rules and reminders hardly affected our habits, our classes, or even our joyful breaks. With the innocent mind of a high schooler, school regulations were just tiny pieces of a much larger picture, a life filled with joy, discoveries, and slowly forming dreams. Because of that, I never thought that particular rule could bring any real trouble or have a profound impact on my daily life, a life full of laughter, games, and the small dreams we shared in the school hallways. But that day, everything changed under the sheer force of nature. It was a fateful day when a violent storm suddenly struck, transforming the familiar school scenery into a wild and chaotic scene that left everyone in awe. The rain poured endlessly, with heavy droplets crashing down, making the air damp and heavy. Meanwhile, the wind howled fiercely, strong enough to sweep away anything not firmly anchored. Each gust of wind roared like a raging beast, shaking everything around. Witnessing such an overwhelming display of nature's power, I had no doubt this was a moment of danger, a direct threat to my safety. Under normal circumstances, school rules provided a sense of security, but in the face of nature's fury, nothing could compare to the protection of family. So, with no other option, I hurriedly asked my parents to pick me up, seeking safety from the unpredictable force of the storm. Amidst the chaos of the storm, the pounding rain, the roaring wind, I felt the vulnerability of humans against the vast power of the universe. It was in that moment that I realized the true importance of family, of protection and shelter, when school rules suddenly seemed powerless against nature's wrath. Believing that extreme weather was a justifiable reason for an exception, I approached my teacher with a small glimmer of hope and asked to call home for a ride. But the cold, unwavering response I received left me stunned. "You don't have an emergency. Students are not allowed to call home just because of bad weather. You can walk home on your own." Those words hit me like a shockwave, freezing my hope in place. My young heart trembled, suddenly feeling helpless and abandoned in the face of the raging storm. The teacher's firm stance made me deeply feel the rigidity of the system, where rules were enforced with no flexibility, even in situations where safety was at serious risk. With no choice left, I had to face the storm alone, burdened by worry, fear, and a deep sense of being forsaken. The teacher's stern gaze and unwavering words cemented the reality of a system that prioritized regulations over human well-being. Caught in a whirlwind of emotions, I knew that in that moment, I had to face not just the storm of nature, but also the storm of inflexible rules that failed to account for real emergencies. On that stormy day, when the school turned into a chaotic battlefield, I stepped forward, determined to take on the challenge. I quickly packed my things, tightened my worn-out jacket, my loyal companion through cold winters, and stepped outside, like a small soldier marching into danger. Every step felt like a battle against the storm's fury. The powerful wind threatened to knock me off my feet, while the relentless rain lashed against my face, each drop cutting into my skin like icy needles. The floodwaters reached my ankles, turning the 2-mile journey, over 3 kilometers, into a grueling test of endurance and resilience. While I struggled against the storm, my parents were thrown into a panic at home. When they realized I hadn't returned, worry consumed them, prompting desperate phone calls and a frantic drive through the downpour to find me. Their anxious expressions, the sweat on their brows, and the urgency in their actions became undeniable proof of their boundless love, a love that made me realize that no matter how terrifying the storm was, family would always be my safest refuge. By the time I finally dragged myself home, completely exhausted and drenched from head to toe, I saw my parents waiting by the door. My mother, overcome with relief, immediately pulled me into a tight embrace, as if trying to erase all the exhaustion and fear caused by the storm. My father stood silently beside her, his eyes heavy with worry and love. In that moment, a new fear arose in me. I expected to be scolded for breaking the rules. But instead, something warm and unexpected unfolded, revealing a touching chapter in my life story. At first, my father simply stood there, letting out a quiet sigh before turning away, as if shelving whatever reprimand he had in mind. But then, as if something inside him called out, he returned with a bag of hot pizza and a few new movies, enough for our family to spend the evening together. There were no angry lectures or harsh punishments, just simple, heartfelt gestures, small yet filled with immense love. It was his way of comforting me after my battle against the storm, his silent way of showing that my safety mattered more than any rule. That moment etched itself deeply into my memory, teaching me a powerful lesson. While rules are meant to maintain order, without flexibility and understanding, they can lead to unintended harm. While I had to endure the dangers of following the rule blindly, my parents, especially my father, showed me that a child's well-being should always come first. Instead of scolding me, he chose warmth, care, and quiet reassurance to heal the wounds caused by an unforgiving system. That evening taught me something invaluable. Rules, though necessary, should allow room for flexibility and empathy. A child's safety and happiness should always take precedence over rigid policies. Mistakes aren't the end of the world. What truly matters is learning from them and cherishing what is truly important in life. These lessons became a guiding light in my journey to adulthood, reminding me to always listen to my heart, to value understanding over strictness, and to never let rules overshadow the fundamental human need for care and compassion. Story 3. Once upon a time, in a family where the children were anything but well-behaved, constantly causing chaos with their uncontrollable mischief, a nanny was hired to take care of them. Looking after such mischievous children was truly a formidable challenge, requiring extraordinary patience and skill. Every time the nanny tried to educate and guide them with kindness, gentleness, and love, the mother's sharp voice would cut through the air like an unyielding command. "You are a nanny, not a parent. Don't interfere with how I raise my children." Those scolding words echoed like sharp blades, slicing through the nanny's sincere efforts, leaving her heart heavy and her attempts meaningless. In her mind, only one thought remained: she had to obey exactly what the mother ordered, even if it meant giving up her natural instinct to nurture and care for the children she had grown to love. And so, the nanny decided to step back from her role as a guide. She refrained from intervening in the children's behavior, allowing them the freedom to create havoc as per the mother's directives, as if any other form of discipline was an intrusion upon the mother's authority. Though the choice carried a sense of helplessness and regret, it became a testament to the power of blind adherence in an environment where individual authority reigned supreme. Through this story, we realize that the struggle between roles and authority within a family is not just about control but also about understanding and shared responsibility. When one side completely abandons their role in nurturing and disciplining, choosing instead to follow rigid commands, the consequences not only affect the children's development but also strip away the value of genuine care and affection. The result was inevitable: the house turned into a true battleground. Broken furniture, spilled juice soaking into carpets, and scribbles covering every inch of the walls, everything was engulfed by a wave of disorder left in the wake of the unruly children. Every corner of the house seemed to tell its own chaotic tale, where once orderly spaces had been reduced to fragments of shattered discipline. When the mother returned home, the sight that greeted her was the exact opposite of the neat and organized home she had envisioned. The overwhelming chaos struck her like a bolt of lightning, filling her with shock, fear, and disappointment. She couldn't contain her anger and immediately demanded an explanation from the nanny, as if she were desperately trying to regain control over the disaster that had unfolded. Faced with the storm of accusations, the nanny remained calm, simply shrugging her shoulders and responding in a steady voice. "I was just following your orders." Though the words seemed simple, they carried a profound message. They reaffirmed that the nanny had faithfully adhered to the mother's directives without deviation or personal intervention. This unshaken honesty and consistency created a turning point, making the situation more intense than ever. But it didn't stop there. When the mother attempted to blame the nanny for the catastrophe, the nanny made the bold decision to report the matter to her agency. The agency's response was unexpected. Instead of reprimanding the nanny, they firmly stood by her side. Not only did they cancel the contract with the family, but they also offered financial support to repair the damages caused by the children. This response demonstrated the agency's absolute trust in the nanny's actions, reinforcing the importance of responsibility and fairness in managing and caring for children. In the end, through all the chaos, the mother learned a valuable lesson: raising children effectively requires not just discipline but also flexibility and understanding. Rigid rules, when enforced mechanically without consideration for real-life circumstances, can lead to ironic and unforeseen consequences. This lesson not only highlights the necessity of balance in parenting but also underscores that, in every situation, trust and responsibility, whether from a nanny or a parent, must always prioritize the safety and well-being of children. It serves as a reminder that love and care are the true forces that help us overcome challenges. The moral of the story: rigid rules without flexibility can lead to unintended consequences. When parents prioritize strict regulations over adaptability, children may run unchecked, creating chaos in their environment. A nurturing, understanding approach is essential in childcare. Discipline should be balanced with compassion. The combination of discipline and flexibility creates a safe, healthy, and well-rounded environment for children to grow. Story 4. Once upon a time, when I was a passionate and curious teenager, I had a small habit that caused quite a bit of trouble in my family: cracking my knuckles. The sharp pop that echoed each time I did it became a peculiar soundtrack, though not in a way I liked. To my mother, that sound was nothing less than a sign of chaos and impending disaster. "Stop cracking your knuckles. You'll get arthritis," she would exclaim in a strict and anxious tone every time I did it. Her warnings echoed through our house as if they could alter my fate. However, despite my mother's constant concern, I never believed that this little habit could actually harm my health. To me, cracking my knuckles was nothing more than a harmless ritual, something I did for fun, a way to relieve tension, or simply an unconscious habit. Over time, this belief became a part of my youthful identity, making my mother's warnings seem overly cautious and rigid. One day, fed up with repeating herself, my mother decided to take a different approach. She made me write a long essay on the dangers of knuckle cracking. Her intention was clear: it wasn't just about punishing me. She hoped that through the process of writing, I would realize that her warnings were not empty words but carried an important truth that I needed to take seriously. To her, this essay was a tool to turn a supposedly harmful habit into a valuable life lesson. But to me, it only highlighted the ongoing conflict between youthful defiance and parental worries. And so, my habit of cracking my knuckles became a small yet ironic chapter in my teenage years, a story where curiosity and joy often triumphed over strict warnings and discipline. Instead of blindly following my mother's instructions, I took it as a rare opportunity to uncover the truth for myself. I spent hours researching, digging through scientific studies, and meticulously analyzing every piece of evidence about the effects of knuckle cracking. Each page I read opened a new door to a world of knowledge, and soon, I realized that my mother's warnings lacked scientific backing. Through my thorough investigation, I found enough evidence to confidently say that, contrary to my mother's firm beliefs, no study had ever proven that cracking knuckles caused arthritis. When I finally finished my essay, it was more than just a piece of paper filled with facts and references. It became undeniable proof, a testament to the power of knowledge. Faced with my logical arguments, backed by accurate data, my mother had no choice but to remain silent before the overwhelming weight of truth. Years later, this story remained a humorous memory, passed down as a family tradition. Whenever I got the chance, I would playfully crack my knuckles in front of my mother and say with a grin, "Remember that essay I wrote? Still no arthritis." My joke never failed to make her laugh, serving as a reminder that sometimes, knowledge and thorough research can overturn long-standing misconceptions. This experience taught me that, while parental warnings often stem from love and concern, they aren't always correct. Only truth, supported by objective scientific evidence, can dispel unfounded beliefs and open the door to new horizons of understanding. Lesson from this story: truth holds power when discovered and proven through objective knowledge. While many warnings may arise from deep-seated beliefs or misunderstandings, by actively seeking and carefully verifying information, we can break free from baseless assumptions. This story also highlights the importance of questioning things rather than blindly accepting them, fostering independent thinking and confidence in our own abilities. Story 5. As a young boy growing up in the noisy, bustling environment of a repair shop, where the hum of machinery and the scent of grease were ever present, I once experienced an unforgettable injustice. One fateful day, a valuable wrench mysteriously vanished among the busy mechanical parts. Although I insisted that I wasn't the one who lost it, my father, strict and unwavering, scolded me harshly, refusing to give me a chance to explain or defend myself. The sting of that unfair accusation cut deep into my heart, leaving behind a bitter scar. Yet, at the same time, it planted a small mischievous spark within me, a desire for playful revenge when I grew older. Years passed, and though the old wound never completely faded, it became the motivation for me to turn the past into something humorous and meaningful. To get back at my father for that wrongful blame, I came up with a playful yet clever idea. Every Christmas and birthday, I would give him a new wrench. Year after year, the gift remained the same, a symbolic joke, a gentle reminder of an old injustice that had never been forgotten. At first, my father was puzzled, his face showing surprise and slight confusion whenever he opened the gift box. It was as if he were trying to figure out what was going on. But as time went by, a smile would gradually appear on his face every time he saw that familiar wrench, a smile of nostalgia, humor, and quiet understanding. Over the years, this little joke evolved into a unique family tradition, transforming what was once a painful moment into a cherished memory that strengthened our father-son bond. No matter how many years passed, I continued my small yet meaningful prank, an enduring symbol of growth, patience, and the belief that even painful mistakes can be turned into joyful moments that uplift the spirit and bring family members closer together. Every story like this carries humor, irony, and valuable lessons about the consequences of unfair accusations and rigid rules. Through this, I gradually realized that while life often presents us with setbacks and emotional wounds, the ability to respond with wit and lightheartedness can help us move forward with a smile that carries the power of forgiveness and the unbreakable bond of family love. Lesson from this story: initial mistakes and injustices can be transformed into opportunities for growth and stronger family bonds. Instead of dwelling on past pain, we can find clever ways to retaliate playfully, turning unpleasant memories into lighthearted, meaningful traditions. The young boy's mischievous act not only helped heal an old wound but also became a glue that brought father and son closer. This story reminds us that forgiveness, when given and received, can turn unfair moments into inspiration, strengthening family ties with warmth and love. Life doesn't always go as expected. Unfair situations, rigid rules, and misunderstandings can create challenges or even leave emotional scars. However, through knowledge, creativity, and optimism, we can turn painful moments into valuable lessons. More importantly, it's how we react to hardships and mistakes that truly shapes us and our relationships. With humor, patience, and understanding, life's struggles can become opportunities for growth, learning, and deeper connections. In life, always embrace challenges and view every mistake as a chance to learn. Don't fear failure, for it is through those stumbles that we develop resilience, adaptability, and wisdom. Trust in yourself, listen to your heart, and cherish the genuine love from family and friends. Life doesn't always follow a perfect script, but every experience, whether painful or ironic, teaches us the value of forgiveness, kindness, and the strength to overcome difficulties. Live meaningfully, turn challenges into motivation, and remember, each new day is an opportunity to become the best version of yourself.